Now we're taking you to Peter's Palace.
Now we are driving along the embankments of the Fountain River.
The Russians love their fountains, as you're about to see with our visit to Peterhof, the residence of Peter the Great, out in the countryside.
And now we are already in the community which is called Peterhof or Peter's Palace.
As we arrive at the Peterhof Palace, we hop off the tour bus and take a walk past some of the ubiquitous vendors. You can always buy souvenirs in your tour stops here in St. Petersburg. Our group from Hawaii making our way into the palace grounds, and here we're going to tour a splendid array of fountains. Probably the most spectacular fountains in the world, and now we're going to give you a brief musical preview of our visit.
This is a very interesting palace belonging to Peter the Great, survived the war, so we are going to see it as well. So here are about 50 sculptures in this cascade, fountains, dragons. All the theme of this cascade is to commemorate the victory of Peter the Great in the Northern War. That's why the park was designed. This is considered to be the most beautiful park in Russia. So please follow me down. We walk slowly downstairs and you will photograph the cascade sculptures, and Samson is right in the center. Then we shall follow the canal and make a stop on the bridge, which is the best point for photographing this residence. Okay, these fountains were designed in the 18th century, and what is important here is that the water goes down by natural pressure. They don't use any pumps. But the water comes from the highlands, which are situated about 15 miles from here, and it is run by the natural pressure, by the gravity power. So you can see as high as this fountain goes, it is all natural pressure. Compared to the West European parks, for example, in Versailles, this cascade is all made by the gravity, while in Versailles they run pumps. So they can use their fountains for only about 2 hours a day maximum, while here it is all for free. They just open. In the winter time, all the cascades are closed and the sculptures are covered by the special brick and or wooden protectors to save them from the element, because it's snowing and there are some marble sculptures. Another thing here is that all the sculptures of the cascade are covered with real gold leaf. So it's not bronze color or paint, this is real gold. And because of the water falling all the time, they have to do the regilding very regularly. And that is why, though you may see many Russian travelers here, this is an extremely expensive visit for anybody. They try to get more money for gilding of the cascades and of the fountains. Now we are on the bank of the sea canal. The canal was dug in the 18th century because they brought construction materials from the Gulf of Finland. And the construction materials were delivered to the Grand Palace. This is how it was built. So now we shall go along the sea canal to the bridge and make another stop there. Again, the palace was designed by architect Rastrelli in the middle of the 18th century. There are two types of parks in Europe: the French regular parks and the English natural parks. This is a very symmetrically planned park. the trimming of the trees, the symmetrical location of the fountains, everything here is reminding us of the parks in France. And it is no wonder, because Peter the Great wanted to have this park to be like Versailles and much better than Versailles. And so what they did, they planned it as a symmetrical arrangement. The sea canal, which we have just left, is the compositional center, together with the grand palace on top of the hill. And in the end, there would be another cascade. So 2 more cascades. So this is how this huge area is arranged into one composition. Speaking about history, the territory was also divided between children and the adults. The children's part, with 3 palaces for children, was in this section. And here were the palaces for the adults.
Just as in the past, today the palace grounds are a playground for adults as well as children. There's something for everybody to enjoy with this splendid vista, looking down across the Grand Cascade and down the canal. The canal was used to bring materials for construction of the original palace. It was built back in 1714. As Olga mentioned, the grounds and palace were built in celebration of the victory of the Northern Wars, where Russia defeated Sweden. And there's Hercules, symbolizing Russia, rending the jaw of the lion, symbolizing the Swedes. It was a great triumph for Russia because it put to an end centuries of attack by outside forces. Russia had always been plagued by the Poles, by the Germans, by the Swedes, and on their southeastern flank by the Cossacks and the Tartars. But with this great victory of Peter, it put an end to the external attacks on Russia. Celebrating with the construction of the gardens and the palace, and a grand lifestyle that went with it. Today, it's a big favorite for locals to come for their wedding photos, of course, and it seems to be mostly Russians who are visiting the palace. As Olga mentioned, it's considered to be the most beautiful park in the country. The fountains were originally cast in lead and covered in gold, but that didn't hold up too well, so they were recast in bronze and covered once again in gold. The original water pipes were made of wood, and they functioned quite well, but it was rebuilt 100 years later with metal pipes, and that increased the pressure so the fountains could go that much higher. All fed by gravity. From springs about 14 miles away, a canal was constructed to bring the water to the palace. The gardens are designed in a formal French style, but the overall pattern of the fountains is eclectic European. Italians were involved, as well as French and Russians, creating this work of such great beauty. Some more classical music will help us absorb the overall effect.